Real estate restrictions ease. Let's have a look. Good morning, everyone. Florian.heise here, and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. I have my morning stein of coffee. I thought we'd have a look at this article from Domain discussing the easing of real estate restrictions that's occurred in Victoria. Now, we all know that property is pretty much the backbone of the Victorian economy. They're heavily reliant on the jobs that it creates from construction, real estate, property investment, through to stamp duty and land tax. The government, they love their property, particularly in Victoria. Now, here we are seeing some easing of restrictions on auctions and an increase in auction clearance rates. Before we go through this, I'll just draw your attention. You can see here, you can get the auction clearance rates at Domain. They've got, Melbourne, you can go view all details, Sydney, Brisbane, Canberra. What's interesting is the total number of auctions, the confirmed results, those sold, withdrawn, and passed in. Now you can see here the total number is 102. The confirmed results is only 72. So there's another 28? 30 results that haven't been submitted. Now the issue is they assume that those results that haven't been received are going to continue the trend of what has been received. But have you met a real estate agent before, everyone? Are they quite gregarious, outgoing, confident people that like to portray or push forward a charisma and a personality that always talks about winning? Yes, that's all the agents that are good that I've met. And that's fine. That's part of the game, part of their trade. But we can't really trust this data because those 30 losers that haven't managed to sell anything, they're not going to tell them that. It'll just quietly reappear on the market next week as a property that's for sale. And thanks to the team at Fresh Canvas, I prepared this article just looking through everything that's going on and showing us how there is a prevalence or a bias for a more positive or higher auction clearance rate result. What we're seeing there, what the reporters are talking on, isn't necessarily accurate, and sometimes it can be quite dramatic, the changes in percentages. And you've got like 70, 69, 7%, 70%. Those are psychological barriers every time you have a zero there. Imagine if it was 40. So I'd highly recommend that you go through this or watch the video I did on it just to get an understanding. You can download the numbers and see all the data yourself. It's all there available. It's all there available. The thing is, Domain and these real estate advertising businesses have the data to accurately 100% represent what's going on at a later date, but they never really update it that much. Or if they do, it's never mentioned in the news. It's never mentioned in the news. And auctions, they're a big thing down in Melbourne and Sydney, the biggest markets here in Australia. I don't quite get them from a buyer's perspective. Why would you want to go to an auction where it's literally created to elicit fear of missing out? Fear of missing out. And for houses which, frankly, are not that unique, not that special. But, I'm a Queenslander. We've got our own stupid things that we do too. So let's have a look through this article. Auctions and inspections open for 20 people as restrictions ease in Victoria. And on a slightly unrelated note, I went down to the shops on the weekend and I noticed that people didn't care anymore. I think Australians have just had enough of all this lockdown economy, and they don't care. There was no social distancing, none of that. People were just shopping, and I think people are over it. Let me know what you think, guys. Have you seen people just being over it, gonna go with the flow? Particularly some of the oldies, I find, but they're usually from a different age, aren't they? Up to 20 people will be allowed at auctions and open for inspections across Victoria from next week, as social distancing restrictions are eased across the state. The restrictions introduced to stop the spread of the pandemic in March saw public auctions and open homes banned, with agents limited to one-on-one private inspections. So these poor agents have had to actually work for their money. I mean, Those restrictions were loosened earlier this month with public auctions, with a limit of 10 people held for the first time in Melbourne last weekend. Premier Daniel Andrews said the limit on people at auctions and inspections would be increased to 20 as of June 1, as the spread of the pandemic in the state remains low. Auctions and open for inspections will also be subject to the 20-person limit, but those required to conduct the activity with agents also required to keep the contact details of everyone who attends, Mr. Andrews said in an official statement. Well, I remember right back at the beginning when we had news starting to break of this pandemic spreading around Australia, it was actually examples of real estate open homes where people could potentially be exposed. So I guess that'll teach us all for giving fake details to the agents when we do looky-loo, so we don't get the constant phone calls. It's probably worth the risk, guys. Those calls are annoying. How many of you have been hit up recently for agents trying to get you to sell or interested to buy, trying to get stock? Let us know in the comments. I think a lot of them are getting hungry to try and get more stock to keep moving. Other announcements included the return of local travel and the opening of pools, playgrounds and parks, also from June 1. Restaurants and cafes will be able to reopen as of June 22 if community transmission rates of the pandemic remain low. Now, it's going to be interesting. We'll have to see if Victoria does a similar thing to Western Australia, where they're putting caps on the number of people that can go in restaurants. We've got one viewer who has a pub over in WA, and the numbers that she can get in there just aren't affordable, unfortunately. Unless people spend a lot of money, which in this climate is probably not going to happen, because consumer confidence, as I will bring up a rather depressing chart, is in the all-time lows. So, we'll see. We'll have to see if the same thing happens. If they put caps in patron numbers in Victoria, will it be affordable for people to get back in? Agents have welcomed the news, with Barry Plant Chief Executive Mike McCarthy saying the increased number of people at auctions would not only assist vendors and agents, but also those researching before buying. Researching before buying. That's all that search traffic that they keep talking about, that they keep saying is why it's going up. I think probably the biggest impact it will have is more in the research stage. It will allow people to get out and get an idea of the level of competition from other buyers is out there, Mr. McCarthy said. From an industry point of view, it will help productivity because anything that brings us back towards normal will help. Marshall White Stonington director and auctioneer John Bonganoro said it was fantastic news given the popularity of open for inspections in Melbourne. He noted around 68 people turned up to inspect a 3-bedroom home at 686 Riversdales Road, Camberwell on Saturday. Each had to be socially distanced, with only 10 allowed in at a time. Anything we can do to stimulate the property market at the moment will help stimulate the economy, he said. Well, sadly, in some ways, the property market is the economy in this country, guys. It is the economy. He said the new measures would help not only the properties for sale, but also properties for lease. Any measures that make it easier to transact are welcome, he said. The announcement comes after Melbourne's second weekend of public auctions, with the city recording a clearance rate of 70.1% on Saturday from 72 reported auctions. The real estate, and think about that. If all of those 30 extra auctions were not considered, were all passed in, what would that do to that clearance rate, guys? Wouldn't look as impressive. The Real Estate Institute of Victoria also welcomed the news, with President Lee Kellner telling Domain it was a very positive step forward for the industry. She urged agents, buyers and vendors to continue following the government's rules regarding social distancing. She said the REIV had not received any complaints about agents or agencies not following such rules. Oh yes, would you dib-a-dob into the REIV over not following social distancing rules? The issues I've had with real estate agents are where they've tried to amend contracts by marking them up with pen after they've been signed. Those are issues I think are serious. But then again, Australia's turning into a nation of dibber-dobbers, isn't it? Agents have been working very hard to ensure they comply with the guidelines, she said. So there you have it, guys. Easing of restrictions in Victoria. They are, well, they need to do everything they can to keep their real estate engine of the economy going. And more mention of those auction clearance rates, which until you get an appreciation of how they've done the statistics, you won't be as cynical as I am about it. As always, let me know your thoughts and opinions. Are you heading out for auction? Do you think this will be, the beginning of a revitalization back to the property sector? A lot of people are, they're doing double time with the FOMO. We saw that yesterday, aren't they? Interest rates are at a low level. People just want to get back in the market. Or should you wait to see what happens when the recession is officially declared and people's bank holidays disappear? Remember, it's always the edge cases that affect the price of property. It's definitely a sector to watch. As always, guys, thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and you'd like to support us, there are a few ways you can. You can join the channel here on YouTube. You can support us via affiliate links at Amazon or eBay. You can buy a merch from HeiseSays, use Gold Pass from the Perth Mint, or you can support us via PayPal. Take care, guys. I'll see you in the next video.